8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To the OMNI ADVANTAGE virtual book launch. I'm Zara Janjua, and I am absolutely delighted to be here today as your host. Now, as you can see, we are joined by 6 pharma digital transformation thought leaders who all contributed to Mehrnaz's book. We'll be hearing insights and expertise from each of our guests over the next hour. But first, I think we should begin by meeting some of our guests. So let's have some brief introductions, and it would make perfect sense to go to the woman of the hour, Mehrnaz Campbell. It is so good to see you. Perhaps you could start by introducing yourself to our wonderful audience today.
Hi, Zara. Thank you. I'm, as you know, Mehrnaz Campbell. I was born in Iran and moved to UK back in 1985. I came to UK to study, so I studied as a nurse and worked for NHS. And about 32 years ago, I decided to join the pharmaceutical industry, and I've worked for GSK, Pfizer, and Takeda in various sales and marketing roles before I embarked and set up my own company, Kimia. And Kimia is a company we specialize in HCP engagement. Our aim is to help NHS gain millions in efficiency savings and improve patient outcomes. And to do that, we work with UK pharma clients that have a brand that genuinely adds value to NHS. We help them get market access, listed the product on the formulary, and grow it exponentially to become market leader. Also, I'm a founder of Kimia Reset. Kimia Reset is a digital transformation brand we developed during lockdown and is designed to help global pharma field teams to use digital technology and content confidently to engage with HCPs, and our clients have managed to increase their sales performance and productivity and achieve great results. So that's about me.
Mehrnaz, you have been incredibly busy over the last few years, and of course now you're adding author to that long CV that you have. So we're very, very excited to have a chat with you a little later on. Thank you so much. And next we have Paul Simms, the Chief Executive of Inpatient Health. Paul, great to have you with us.
I think, sorry.
Back.
So much for being here. Really appreciate. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you. Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Well, sorry, I was just saying, an honor to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this gang and to be part of such an important book, which I think everyone should read.
Paul, thank you so much. And next we have James Harper.
Hi. Yeah, like Paul, it's a real honor to be along this. In fact, when I was first invited, I got a little bit of imposter syndrome, sort of cranking up in my brain to say, do I really belong on this panel? But for those that don't know me, James Harper, I run a company called 28B, and we specialize in enabling and empowering field teams through CRM and CLM. So, there's a very good fit here. And I got to know Mehrnaz through the chat on another webinar about 1.5 years ago. And it was clear we thought in the same way. We both believed there was a way to do things better. So I was delighted when she asked me to contribute to the book and to contribute to this panel.
Well, Jay. Next we have Florent Edouard.
Thanks, Florent. So I'm French, as you can hear. I'm living in the Netherlands, working for a German company, but we are a global mid-sized player. Before that, I did a few things. I tried to work in banking, didn't find my purpose there, participated to a startup adventure, sold the startup, moved to big pharma, moved around the world with AstraZeneca, and then joined Grünenthal 6 years ago now to lead commercial excellence. So everything that has to see with commercial processes, capabilities, platforms, analytics, data science, AI, and everything new and exciting I can put my hands on. And I've been discussing and collaborating with Mehrnaz for quite some time, and I was really delighted to be part of the book that I still not have received because you Brits have decided to do a Brexit and it's stuck in the customs.
We're terribly sorry about that, Florent. Not all of us voted for it, unfortunately, but we're sorry that you are having the impact, or you're feeling the impact of that. We'll make sure you get your book.
Thank
We will
you.
make sure you get that book. And just next, we have Paul Tunnah.
Yeah, pleasure to be here and pleasure to get involved in the book. So excited about this. So I'm probably best described as a recovering scientist and very passionate communicator. So my current role is Chief Content Officer and Managing Director with Healthware Group, full service agency and digital transformation company, now part of Eversana as of last October, which is a full service commercialization company based out of the States. But 25 years ago, I was doing my PhD in anti-cancer drug design. And then the last 20 plus years has been in various different guises of communication, including launching my own publication, Pharma Forum, back in 2009, which was how I came to be in healthware through the acquisition in 2020. So yeah, great to be here.
Lovely to have you with us. And last but not least, we have Koen Janssens.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. So my name is Koen Janssens. I'm working as an Associate Director Field Force Effectiveness in Norgine. And I must say I have been working in Norgine all of my life, I must say. I'm 33 years in Norgine, and I went through different functions in sales and marketing. And it was really an interesting journey. My passion is all about bringing the chemistry, the face-to-face chemistry from our commercial field forces towards the customer. How can we create that chemistry in face-to-face? And that's how I learned also that it is possible, knowing Mehrnaz, that we also can recreate that face-to-face chemistry in a remote engagement setting. So.
Well, we're delighted to have you, Koen, and we're looking forward to hearing more about that journey that you've been through with Norgine a little later on. Now, to the comment section, and we'll try to answer as many of those as possible at the very end of today's event. We would, of course, love to hear from you throughout the course of the next hour. So join in the comments section on LinkedIn as we go along today. We absolutely love that you can be here virtually with us on LinkedIn. Our panelists are joining us from Scotland, England, the Netherlands, Belgium, and it would be really great to know where you're joining us from today. So please let us know, say a little hello and an intro in the comments box, and it'd be lovely to read some of those out. But now, of course, it gives me the greatest pleasure to speak to the woman who is responsible for today's event, the CEO of Chemia and Chemia Reset, and the author of the newly released title, The OMNI ADVANTAGE, Mehrnaz Campbell. Lovely to see you, Mehrnaz, and congratulations on the book. What a way to kickstart 2024. Now, you're currently back in Scotland, but you live in the US.
Yes, Zara, I got married and moved to US in 2017, and my husband lives and works there. So most of the time I'm in US. We live in a small town called Lititz in Pennsylvania. But I do hop over to UK quite frequently. I've got a hub in Edinburgh because my children live here and my team are all based in the UK. So it gives me quite a great excuse to go between the two countries. Obviously, I'm Iranian. Sometimes I call myself Scaranian because I feel Scottish as well. But yeah, my kind of I've got two homes and split between the two.
Oh, well, what's lovely from London, from St Albans, from Kirkintilloch, from online, which you know very well. And your company has scooped some really major awards in recent years. Chemia was named Top Remote Work Tech Solutions Provider in 2021 by CIO Applications Europe. And then in 2022, they were named one of the Can-Do Innovation Solution Providers by CIO, and the Innovation Summit SM Award and Accelerate Her Awards. Mehrnaz, you have just achieved so much with your business. How on earth did you manage it all?
I guess if you do something you really love and passionate about, you just keep going and it just doesn't feel like work. But obviously, I didn't do it on my own. I have an amazing team who share the same values and passion, and together we achieve this. But we didn't go after these awards. What we saw a problem that the pharma industry was facing during the pandemic, and we wanted to come up with a solution to resolve it. And our clients who use those solutions managed to get their field force arms around digital channels and content and achieved outstanding results. So what I'm really proud of is not the awards. What I'm proud of is what our clients like Koen have achieved to achieve amazing sales performance and profitability in 21 and 22 and beyond.
It's lovely that you see so much of your success through your clients' success. It's something I've noticed in the time I've worked with you. And, you know, practice, have a resource there that you could pass on. Why then did you decide, what made you decide to write the book?
I think the decision to write the book is because I go to a lot of conferences. I've been to Reuters, I've been to Next Pharma or Pharmageddon, and everybody's talking about omnichannel. But what we want is not omnichannel. What we really want is engagement. And I think it's about, I felt, although everybody's talking about it, nobody's really clear about how to go and achieve it. And we had a recipe that was working, not just for us, but it was working for our clients. And I've had this vision that we need to have a book, a practical book that gives you that clarity about how to go to be able to engage your field team to embrace digital channels and content. The Omni advantage is all about people because technology is amazing. Platforms are necessary to achieve that. But until you get people on board, you won't be able to gain the advantage the technology offers you. And that's what made me want to go and develop this project. And I think although it was my idea, I involved other people along the journey, and together we achieved something that I think is much more powerful than what I initially intended.
And the book is wonderful. And one of the things that really drew me to it in particular was your opening gambit. I really enjoyed the personal stories that you shared. And you do actually start the book with, the book opens with a very personal story about how you first became involved in remote sales. It would be lovely to hear you recount that for the audience today.
Sure. I guess it was almost it's 2016, so that was 8 years ago. I was taking part in a charity bike ride from London to Paris, and it was for my alumni UK, and I was doing that with a bunch of my colleagues from Takeda, and I was 10 miles short of arriving in Paris. It was like over 4 days. And I fell off my bike. I just somersaulted across my handlebars, landed on my shoulder, and broke my arm and my shoulder in several places. So, as you can imagine, I couldn't continue doing the ride, which I was pretty annoyed. So, they put me and my bike in the van and we driving behind the pack towards Paris. But I was determined. I wasn't going to cross the line in a van. I wanted to cross the line on my bike. So when we got to Paris, and asked them to let me get out, insisted I was going to go on my bike. And because I couldn't use my arm, a couple of ride captains were kind of like holding my cycling shirt, like flanking me to use my shirt as a brake. And I crossed the line, went and had a celebration with my colleagues, had a beer in front of the Eiffel Tower. Then I went to the hospital. I came back to Edinburgh the following day and I was signed up for work because at the time I was working as a regional account director. My job was field based. Driving was an essential part of my job to be able to get to see customers. So after a week, I called my manager and I said, let me go back to work. Although I was signed up for work, I couldn't drive. But I said, I can use my head, I can phone people, I can use email. And at the time, we were negotiating a really important commercial agreement in Scotland. And I just didn't want to miss that opportunity. So I managed to persuade them to let me go back to work. And during that time, I found something really unique because I wasn't driving, I had more time to sit down and read through documents. I was able to listen to HCP feedback. I was able to reflect on things. And I found something quite unique that we all had missed before, that I shared with the medical colleagues in the office. And the medical office colleagues in the office were able to use that to kind of give us they changed the dynamics of the tender process that gave us a complete competitive advantage. And we went on to winning the tender. We got our brand listed first line on 3 cancer network, and then subsequently we got 14 first line formally positioned in 14 health boards in Scotland. And the success was so much that that project led to the brand becoming a market leader in UK. And it made me realize that that was my first journey to remote working. And it made me realize if you can do that from your sick bed in Edinburgh, you could influence business from anywhere in the world. So the idea of setting up Kimia and moving to America came as a result of that accident.
It's amazing that you turned that moment, which could have been potentially career devastating, into something that has become a business for you. Can you talk to us then about the OMNI ADVANTAGE, about the book?
Yeah, the OMNI ADVANTAGE is, as I said, it really focuses on people, because I think everybody's focused on technology and platform, and it's so easy to get distracted by the shiny things. But the OMNI ADVANTAGE is about how we can bring our people so that people embrace the digital technology and platform. Because until everybody's on board and using it, we won't be able to get that competitive advantage. So I wrote the book for the pharma leaders who maybe have invested in technology and platform, but they're finding the field team are not engaging with it. And they want better engagement with HCPs. They really want to add value to HCPs. And I think what I'm kind of like was deliberate about it is not have something that theoretical. Everything in the book is based on tried and tested practical experiences, is based on research. And at the end of each chapter, there's a checklist so you can check to see where you are on that journey. And I was actually talking to Patrick Mark. He's a VP of Digital Excellence in DH Sankyo. He's just almost finished reading the book, and he said what he finds most useful about it is a practical tool for leaders. They can see where they are in the journey and what is it that they need to do. And he said the checklist has really helped them. And the first 5 chapters is about how we got into this place in the first place. And the next 5 chapters is how we can get out of it. Because I think at the end of the day, we're all going to be patients one day. We're all going to be carers. And I think we have that power within us to do something so much bigger than us. And I think we have an opportunity to, create a really positive reputation for our industry by uniting to actually deliver value to HCPs. Because until we deliver value to HCPs, the patients won't be able to get the optimum care that they want. And I think that was the kind of like really the reason and the purpose behind it.
Well, there's some really great diagrams and a breakdown after each chapter. It's very concise, very informative, and it really does fly the flag for omnichannel engagement. I wondered whether publish experience like.
Sorry, Zara, I didn't hear your last thing because your line was breaking.
I'm so sorry. Mehrnaz, I'm just wondering whether you can tell us about the experience of publishing. What was it like publishing a book?
Oh my God, I've never done this before, so it was my first time. And the only parallel I can draw to it is like running a marathon. A marathon is an endurance sport, and I think writing a book is an endurance sport. And I think in the same way, like people who run a marathon, they often say the half point in a marathon is not 13 miles, is somewhere more close to 21, because it takes you just as much effort in this last 6 miles than it took in the first 21. And I felt the same way about the book. Writing the book, or like mapping the book and writing it, was relatively easy. In fact, Paul often reminds me, Paul Simms, that when we went to Dubrovnik, I had written the book by that point. But what took a lot of effort that I wasn't anticipating was the editing. The fourth edit was when I hit the wall, and we ended up doing 7 rounds of edit. And there were aspects of the book that I had not even thought about, like typesetting and, pre-launch marketing and all of that. But I think going back to the marathon analogy and any other difficult task I've done in my life, at the end of the day, if you know why you're doing something and what is it you want to do, all you need to do is just take one step in that direction, one step at a time, and you're going to get there. And it's about taking massive imperfect action to get there. And I think what really helped me, and I'm sure Tuesday I talked to a lot of people at the launch party, they were saying, we want to write a book. You can do it. Honestly, you can. My advice is surround yourself by people who cheer on for you and help you. I mean, I involved my team at the beginning, and along that journey, I met amazing people who just joined me. Some of them contributed to the chapters. Some of them helped me with a back blurb. Some of them helped me to decide which heading I was going to use for the subtitles. And some people actually read my final manuscript to tell me honestly what they thought. So surround yourself with people that cheer on for you. And I feel so proud because it was my personal goal. It was my mission, but it became a collaborative project, and together we achieved something a lot more magical than I thought.
And Mehrnaz, if you could give just one piece of advice, then some takeaway from the book, what would that be?
I would say, I think people heard me say this a lot of the times. I think if you have a vision, you want to go for it, just take massive imperfect action. And with this book, if you're a leader, if you're somebody in pharma that want to improve engagement with HCPs, you've got a roadmap, you've got a manual. So don't just read it and put it down. Just do it. Just take massive imperfect action and experiment. Because the OMNI ADVANTAGE would only come.
Yeah, so honestly, there is so many tips and advice, and even for someone who's not in the pharma sector, I found myself reading through your book and pulling out lots of tips that can be, I think, easily transferred across industries. So it's been a beautiful experience to read your book. And if anyone does have a question for Mehrnaz, do pop them into the comments section, and we'll do our best to put them to her at the end. I can see a lot of comments coming in at the moment. There's people who are talking about loving the story. I presume, Mehrnaz, that was your story about the bike ride in Paris. Someone else, Jonathan Mariano, saying that you made lemonade out of lemons, which I think definitely sounds like it was the case there. Now, next, offering the foreword in the OMNI ADVANTAGE is the Chief Executive of Inpatient Health, Paul Simms. Paul, it's really lovely to have you with us. Now, you have a reputation for giving annual predictions in pharma, but we actually haven't had any from you this year. So do you want to just maybe stick your neck out and give us one prediction for 2024?
Yeah, I was trying to take a break and people keep asking me. It's highly inconvenient. But yes, of course. I like to be a little provocative, as many know. And I would say that one prediction I would have for 2024 is that this exciting and wonderful thing that we call AI, and in particular, some of the large language models work that we've seen, I think it's going to hit a bit of a fallow period. I think it's going to hit the brakes for a moment. I think all technologies really follow a hype cycle, and people are forgetful. Maybe it's hard to remember, but I remember very clearly the internet itself hitting this very same hype cycle. I remember in the early 2000s, it was almost an embarrassment to be working in a digital domain because the internet itself had hit that trough of disillusionment. And it took another few years. It was probably not until 2005, 2006, after that kind of dot-com crash, it took a few years to get going again, and for us to really believe that it was a strong way forward. And I think that as AI hits the sort of enterprise buffer zone, it's going to have a bit of a struggle, and it's not quite as plain sailing. And I don't think anyone really thinks it's plain sailing, but I think it's going to be very, very hard. I also think we have to remember that when you come up with something, there are inevitable bad consequences. I think that when the car was invented, no one envisaged traffic jams. When social news, and I think that with AI, you're going to get a lot of narrative manipulation and things like that are going to, is this really me on the camera right now? Can you really trust it? And I do think that we're going to have our own version of a worrying period where we have to limit our use. It's not just the sort of plethora of content, like bad quality content that people sort of think could be the risk. I think there's going to be a deeper and more frightening risk before we get to that sort of balanced place where we know that we shouldn't rely on it fully in the same way that we know we shouldn't be on social media 24 hours a day either, right? So that's a maybe controversial prediction.
I mean, thank you. We asked for one, and I think we might have managed to squeeze a few from you. AI, certainly very interesting cross industries. But let's talk about a webinar you did last week. And I can actually see in the comments a couple of people mentioning your webinar. And it was titled Musk Pharma, and it was based around a hypothetical pharma company set up by Elon Musk. This sort of love of disruption spills over into your contribution in the book, because you write about the inevitable long-term result being the breakup of many companies, with R&D divisions looking for smarter commercialization routes and more advanced risk shares partnerships. So can you just elaborate on that for us?
Did I really write that, Zara? That sounds far too clever for me. No, I think that what I was referring to when I said that is that great medicine, great science deserves to reach patients. And I think that scientists could potentially break up with the commercial departments unless they do better. That might sound very strange. But if you think about biotech companies that obviously focus on drug creation and development, they have a choice now. They can sell out to a big pharma company. They can try and build their own sales and marketing operation, which is, of course, very expensive, very risky, and is typically not the desired route. But they have a third way now, and that is to partner with companies like the one that Paul Tunnah is now part of, Eversana, who will do a risk share arrangement. And of course, people like Eversana are now working not just with biotech, but with big pharma too. And these guys, those leaders now have a choice, and they have a choice of using the kind of slightly old-fashioned, traditional, enormous sales force and juggernaut-style approach to reaching market, or they have approach to partner with someone that's leaner and meaner and can do some things on a more dynamic basis. And I think this actually feeds quite well into the book, because if you are not willing to be very humble and look at yourself in the cold light of day and examine what you actually need for your omnichannel approach or your HR approach in general going forward, you have now the risk of being removed. We've already seen a lot of job cuts, of course, from our industry, particularly in the last year. But I also think we could see a new form of job cut in a way, which is companies using a sort of an alternative partnership model to reach market. So I'm just trying to light the burning platform here. I'm just trying to make sure people understand they're not necessarily as safe as they might think they are, and that they have to use good advice, like the stuff in this book, to ensure that they remain relevant going forward.
Well, Paul, it's incredibly insightful, and we could be here with you for the full hour, as we could with all of our guests. It's been such a great pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much, Paul. And just a reminder to our audience that Paul will be staying with us for questions at the very end. So if you do have a question to Paul, perhaps you want to ask him a little bit more about Musk Pharma, then perhaps you can get those comments in and hear a few more of his predictions at the very end. But now, next up, we have James Harper, founder and managing director of 28B. Hello, James.
Hey, Zara.
Hi. Now, so James, you're a self-confessed lover of technology, and 28B can be considered an early adopter when it comes to digital content. So what is coming up on the horizon that really excites you?
Well, there could be a long list. We talked and touched on AI, modular content, although that's not really that new. Vault CRM and the disruption that's going to bring to the industry and the opportunity that raises. But frankly, yes, I am a technology lover. In fact, I set the company up because I fell in love with the iPhone 3 a year after its launch, and the ecosystem of apps and the innovation that created. That was was one of the reasons I set up the company. But actually, in light of the Omni Advantage and what we're talking about today, I do feel our industry can get distracted by the new shiny, as Mehrnaz said. It's often seen as what's the next silver bullet, the diet pill, etc., that's going to solve all our problems. And yes, absolutely, we should be looking at and considering how that technology solves our problem or contributes to a brighter future. But actually, picking up on what Paul said, being humble and recognizing that sometimes the brilliant basics aren't in place as a foundation for that new technology, whether that be good data, good clean data that's you can use in your generative AI or large machine learning, etc. Or is it just, are your field teams using the tools that you've produced for them? And Viva's Pulse data showed that last year 77% of the content that's produced for field teams isn't used or is rarely used. That's a huge amount of money and effort, time, blood, sweat, tears, approvals going on in our industry for something that's never used. So that's why Mehrnaz and I are very much on the same page when it comes to the sort of hearts and minds and winning over the field team and bringing them along on the journey so that content is used. And then maybe we could look at the bright, shiny new technology.
And there certainly is a lot of alignment between your ethos and what I know from Mehrnaz and her work with Chemia. But, in the book specifically, you do talk about the need to close the gap between current usage and desired usage of interactive digital content. And you've just mentioned there, the winning over the hearts and minds of the field team. So what are the quick wins?
It's brilliant basics again. So it's what's in it for me with them, right? So the mindset, skill set, tool set approach is a really solid approach, right? But our industry jumps to tool set. And in fact, the CRM, which is the heart of all of this sort of field team enablement, was launched back in the day as a field compliance tool, something I have to use to prove to my employer that I'm doing the things I'm paid to do, right? KPIs around reach and frequency. Our biggest win that we can do is convince the field team through showing them the evidence, proving it to them, pilots, sharing successes, that actually it is a true customer relationship management tool. And if used correctly, populated with the right data, using closed loop marketing content that feeds the insights of the customers into the organization's omnichannel approach, using it that way, it enhances what they're doing. It builds upon the effort they put into the field. They can become the orchestrators of great customer experience, which at the end of the day means selling more, getting home earlier, being on stage at the top 10 rep, whatever it might be. There are personal gains you can get from using these, what are really fundamentally excellent tools, whether it be Viva, OCE, Xevo, you name it, it's out there. They all have huge value, but at the moment are desperately underused.
I mean, tick, 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 tick. There's going to be lots of people out there thinking, yes, that sounds like something we want to have in our business. And they'll be agreeing with a lot of what you said. I thoroughly enjoyed reading your contribution in the book, James, and we appreciate having your insights here today. Thank you so much. Just a reminder to post your questions if you have any for James, and we can put them to him at the very end. Thanks to everyone else who has already been in touch. Please continue to post your comments and your questions. But now let's move on to hear from Florent Edouard, who is the Global Head of Commercial Excellence at the Grunenthal Group. Lovely to have you with us, Florent. How are you?
Thanks, I'm great.
Now, in the last year, Grunenthal signed a lot of industry partnerships for R&D or in market products, like with Kiowa Kirin. So that was last August. Do you see collaboration within the industry as being an important aspect of the future of pharma?
Yes, I think it's totally critical. And it's not only because Grunenthal is striking a lot of deals. I think we are a mid-sized company, so we have to join forces with other companies to make sure we bring the right medicine to the patients who need them, that we invest in the right R&D or, long life cycle products that still can benefit a lot of patients. But I think, fundamentally, all of us in the pharma industry contribute to the customer experience. An HCP, a doctor, a nurse, doesn't see us as standalone different from the others. They see a bunch of people and a bunch of communications coming to them from the pharma industry. And if we deliver a low level of quality, and we could talk about that for hours, what that actually means, we endanger the customer experience for everyone. And we have seen physicians shutting down access in the past physically, saying, I don't want to see your people, I'm fed up hearing marketing message, right? The thing is, today, most of the interactions are digital. And with laws like GDPR, those people can close their doors by taking their consent away. And then you cannot communicate at all with them. And then you're off the market. So I think that collaboration to keep a good customer experience is great. And I want for proof of it that, and I talk a little bit about that with Mehrnaz in the book. It's, when COVID-19 hit the planet, we were a bunch of few people who are like, we are missing that industry connection. And there was that platform, maybe you were on that was called Clubhouse, right? Where it was just, you chat, there's no image, no slide, nothing, you just chat with people. And we created a gathering of like-minded people from the pharma industry to talk about topics like could be diversity and inclusion, can be patient engagement, can be, a lot of things around pharma. And people were actively communicating, discussing, engaging, and creating solutions together. So we know it can work. It has to be seen as this is not a rat race. In fact, in pharma, we hire people with brains, let them talk to each other and find solutions for patients.
Florent, thank you. I also really did enjoy reading your contribution to the book, and in that you do talk about how pharma's job is helping to ensure that patients get the right treatment and that physicians are equipped with the right tools to diagnose, engage, and cure their patients. So where are we getting that right and wrong when it comes to field teams becoming trusted advisors?
So that's a dream, right? The thing is, if you take a step back and, a couple of years back, or maybe, 10, 15 years back, the commercialization model was the race for the share of voice. The only way people wanted to commercialize was to have a loudspeaker than the others. So sending at some point, 4 sales reps to one single customer to detail the same product, just to be louder than the competition. That created an image of the sales rep that, with some bad practice at that time, when I was not in the industry, the elders were telling horror stories of stuff that were happening, that created a bad image. So definitely not trusted. People just repeating marketing message because they want one more script. And then we said, okay, that's not going to work for specialty care. That's not going to work in the hospital with expensive products. So let's take the most brilliant people there, send them to the hospitals, and let them deal with it by themselves. And we have not supported them, I think, enough with tools, with contents, with elements that help them understand what is actually the patient problem that the physician is trying to solve. How can we help making the physician practice something that pulls through patients faster, that creates a better patient experience? We have the means to do that, but we have never really been focused as an industry on that. We have always been focused on marketing message, take that and then prescribe. And we need to change that paradigm. And if we don't change it, the customers, the HCPs and the patients are going to change it for us. They will turn to someone else to get any kind of information. So I really think, that's why we are failing at creating that trust. We are, successful in some places. I do think, some companies are better than others at that, but that's really the direction we are pushing for. And for instance, a key question is, which KPIs are you using to monitor your sales team activity? If you keep using frequency, daily calls, and things like that, that's not going to drive a good customer experience. That's not going to drive patient benefits.
It's interesting hearing you talk about that measuring of success and sort of the need, I guess, to redefine that. I think that's something that will strike a chord with many here, and I'm interested to hear from the audience if they have any questions for you, Florent. Thank you so much. As before, post your questions and we'll put them to our guests at the end of today when we have a Q&A. But next up, we have Paul Tunnah, who is the founder of Pharma Forum and Chief Content Officer and MD of series conversation.
Sorry, Zara, I just lost you for a moment there.
I'm terribly sorry. Let me repeat. So I'm talking about storytelling is very important to you. Can you explain why that is so important to pharma?
I think it's fundamental. I mean, first of all, a big sort of welcome again to everybody watching in. There's some fabulous comments flying around in the chat at the side of this. Thank you all for joining. But storytelling, I'm so passionate about this because if you think about what is it that we remember, if you think back to yesterday, what do you remember about yesterday? Think back a week ago. What do you remember about a week ago? What do you remember about a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago? Now, I can hardly remember what I had for breakfast a few days ago. I don't know about you. But the things that stick in my mind is stories and experiences. I can remember where I was at certain times years and years ago. I can remember how I felt. And in particular, when we talk about storytelling, we might think of books or films or any kind of media that's really good at doing this. And I love films in particular, massive Star Wars fan, for example, because I can connect with those stories and I can, not only does it remind me of how I felt, but I put myself in those shoes and it really connects with me on that very base level. So it's a way of really getting us to think about things and capture memories that's very powerful. And in our industry, of course, it's very easy to go, yes, but we're a serious industry. It's all about clinical data. It's all about KPIs. This is business. This is not simple storytelling. But those same principles apply. If we can take the clinical data behind a drug and we can wrap a story around that will help an HCP think, this is the difference I can make. This is how I'm going to feel if I can help a patient. Or a sales rep, when we're trying to do digital transformation, get them thinking, how am I going to feel if I succeed and I'm doing my job better and I'm making a real difference? That's the power of storytelling.
I think storytelling is transformative, and you see it so often with brands and how when they embrace that, it can really change the trajectory. So it makes perfect sense what you're saying. And in the book, you do talk about how pharma tends to get the key elements of change, people, process, technology, the wrong way round, starting with the new shining tech. So how do we make the people the heroes of the story?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges here is the language we use, and even words like omnichannel. I mean, we've had omnichannel, multi-channel, digital transformation. A lot of these words speak to the technology itself. And so the starting point is to immediately go to that. Now, there is some amazing technology out there. And big thanks to Paul Simms for the shout out to Eversana, because that's part of what we do. There's amazing technology, there's amazing people, amazing consultancies and agencies. But you have to take people on that journey. And if you think of a parallel of what we're trying to do as an industry when we engage with perhaps healthcare professionals or patients, we are trying to change their behavior in the right way because we believe a certain product can make a difference and can improve the outcomes. So look at external marketing, for example. We spend so much time trying to understand our customers. What do they believe? How do they want to receive information? How do we change those beliefs and get them doing something different to use a product? When you then put that in the context of what we do internally within a company, we probably don't exert the same rigor. So a digital transformation or an omni-channel transformation, we've got this great new tech, let's get out there and do this. And we haven't done the same things around speaking to our internal customers around what do they believe? How can it make a difference to them? What incentives are going to matter to them to actually try and embrace this? So I'd encourage everyone to think about when you're doing external marketing and everything we do there, it's really a form of external change management with our customers. Take that same rigor to your internal teams, particularly the sales teams, and get them to understand what the benefit is, how it fits into their story. And that's how you put them at the center of this and make them the heroes.
Paul, it's been so lovely to hear you speak on this, and thank you so much for your insights. I'm sure the audience will have plenty of questions for you. A quick comment that's come in from Elaine Garrity. She says that she loves a good story injected with a bit of humour. It makes it memorable, and absolutely, I think from everything we've heard from Paul today, you can definitely take away that's how just important how story is, and to have that up front and first and foremost, it's all about human beings, isn't it? And certainly making the people the heroes of the story. Now, but last, but by absolutely no means least, we have Koen Janssens.
Hi, Zara.
Now, I have deliberately left you until last, Koen. At Norgine, you took your field teams through Mehrnaz's Chemia Reset training platform, and let's just say the results were phenomenal, weren't they? I wonder if you could explain and just share some of your experiences and some of those results with us.
Yes, I can, Zara. First of all, we must say it all started in a matter of, let's say, urgency. We had COVID, we had 2020, lost all contact with our customers, and that was that feeling of fear, maybe anxiety. People were afraid of losing their jobs because they couldn't see their customers anymore. And that triggered the matter of urgency. So people were, and I don't say that anxiety and fear is a good start, but everybody was open to do everything they could just to pick up the relationship again with their doctors because they couldn't see them for months. So we had some, let's say, more theoretical models on how to remotely engage with our HCPs. And yeah, that didn't went well because absolutely, as some other speakers also said, we didn't catch the hearts and minds of the people. It was just a theoretical model that explained what you had to do technically, what did you have to set up, but it didn't really engage them. So there was no real, and I would say there was no story behind the whole idea. And when we saw Chemia Reset, when we showed the demos and we showed the modules, everybody said, yeah, that makes sense. That seems very simple. That is really what we do every day. And I think the reason why it really talked to the heart and soul of the people is because it has been developed by people that are doing the field job on a daily basis. As you have heard by Mehrnaz, also she has done the job on a daily basis. So these people created these models that really work and that people say, yeah, that I can do. So there was that can-do mentality, that can-do attitude. So people start doing it, and the fact that people could go to it step by step, there are 6 modules, 44 small videos, people could really learn in small chunks, and they just started doing it. And that, I think, the fact that when we saw the result, we had some face-to-face contacts, normal call rates, and we have been speaking about KPIs, calls, frequency, whatever. And we saw after that training, by just starting to test to contact HCPs, and also I think the HCPs were receptive because they had missed also a little bit the contact with the pharma industry. So there already it highlights our value. So they were eager to pick it up. What we saw is that people, when it was a remote call, they were much better prepared for their call because they knew this is an opportunity to pick again, start again the relationship, pick it up again. And we also teach them to be very human. Start by saying, how are you doing, doctor? How has it been for you? You didn't see your patients for months. So how are things now? And that really connected very well by starting up these remote engagement calls. And what we saw is that during, let's say, the first year, 21, 22, after the training, we doubled, we tripled our contact rate without making it a dedicated KPI. But the fact that doctors perceived this not as a face-to-face call really passed well. And I think that is one of the secrets of the success of the whole Chemia Reset program. It really is about engaging people and reproducing the face-to-face chemistry as we have it in face-to-face contacts. And that, I think, is a part of the success. And we have perceived it. We had 21, 22 were extraordinarily good years for Norgine. And I think it went through the whole organization seamlessly, because all videos were subscribed in their native language. So it really spoke to the people, and they saw it, they were in the middle of the ocean. I will not say drowning, but that was really something they could use to keep on doing what they love to do, is engaging with their customers.
It was transformative for Norgine, and it's really amazing to hear the results, Koen. But so in your contribution in the book, you talk about it not just being that initial training, but it's about turning that into practice and, you know, sharing positive experiences. So can you just tell the audience a little bit more about that side of things?
Absolutely. I often say when I'm in front of sales groups, I said, Lionel Messi is a very talented football player. And he also didn't become that talented football player by just doing it an initial football training and then stop doing it. He became very good and excellent in it because he went through it on a daily basis. Now he's even one of the most talented football players and goes on the pitch still 3-4 times a week. So that is something we also try to explain. Just do it. I don't want to copy here Nike, but just do it. Do the thing. Start by doing it, some remote engagement calls with your colleagues. When you go one step further, start doing it with the HCPs you have a good connection with, you have a good relationship with. Have a laugh, make it a humorous contact. And also, let's say, putting it out of the technical atmosphere and really have a normal chat with your HCPs helped. So we saw people, their doctors wisely, just to train themselves. And then we saw also that some people have the talent to be very good in a remote engagement. We discovered also that maybe people that are very good in face-to-face encounters are less good in remote engagement. And so we also tried then to pick the stars in every country, so they became the spokespeople for their peers. So we asked then to people that are very good in remote, what is the secret of your success? What are you doing particularly? And hearing this again from their peers made it even more acceptable for the others. So we just said to people, practice, just as you have to do it in normal sales conversations. Have that kind of distance role play with some of your colleagues and have a sincere feedback, have an honest feedback. And even the fact that you bother about it, even customers appreciate it because they see this company goes the extra mile for seeing us. They do an extra effort to make it right, share content where they can, etc. And we try to keep that vibe now, also as we're starting in Norgine, the whole omnichannel, I would say, discussion. This is on top of the agenda. How can we bring omnichannel to, let's say, to our customers without that they feel this is a whole push operation, but a pull operation, really bearing in mind their interest of helping patients and bringing medicines to the patients.
Koen, thank you so much. It's great to hear how highlighting some of those success stories really did help just excel Norgine. And I know that you've been doing very well and you're very happy and you work in a great company. Everyone's very happy in your workplace as well. And so it's been lovely to hear from you and to hear your contribution. I would just like to say also a big thank you to Paul Simms, to James Harper, to Florent Edouard and Paul Tunnah. It'd be great to just bring back all of our panelists now and say, Mehrnaz, you have curated a really, really extraordinary group of experts to contribute to your book, as we've heard over the last almost hour. It's been really, really fascinating to hear from all of you today. And, you know, we've had some lovely remarks that have come in. You know, Katie Riding is telling us that she's been enjoying the session. We do have a comment that's come in from Jonathan Mariano, who says, you know, we've been created to tell stories. And I think it would be great to maybe touch on that if we could. You know, we spoke to Paul Tunnah about storytelling, and it'd be great to sort of think about, where do companies really begin? Where do they start if they are not already thinking of storytelling? Is there a kickoff point for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It links into another question around, you know, are we losing the art of storytelling? And I think, I mean, to start with your question directly, where do we begin with is, what is it we want to convey? What are the messages we're trying to get across, whether that's internal or external? But the art of storytelling is then, how do you wrap that up in a way which is really relevant to your audience? What's of interest to them? And you have this lovely two-circle Venn diagram that overlaps, with relevance being that bit in the middle. And it's really hard to get that right. But to the point around the art of storytelling, 30 years ago, we had no digital channels. We had rep, we had meetings, we had maybe sending stuff out by paper. So we had to think really hard about the story. Now we've got billions of different channels. I do worry that we are losing some of that. And my sort of impassioned plea to everyone in the industry is don't lose the art of storytelling, because it's so, so powerful. It's what connects people.
Just to build on that, Paul, I think when we ask our customers what they want us to be relevant, they want us to be timely, they want us to be trustable, and they want us to be easy to understand. And I think if we get right those 4 dimensions, to your point, we will tell them stories they want to listen to.
Thank you, Florent. Mehrnaz, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Florent said. In fact, we did the joint presentation on stage in Dubrovnik, and I think for me is when you're communicating to HCPs, the key thing is not omnichannel, it's about engagement, and the engagement is being engaged with them on their agenda, not ours. It's about delivering something that is relevant to them at the time they need it, and then using the channel that they prefer. It's not about our 3 key messages and what we want to throw at them. So I think, you know, if you think about the engagement, you connect with people when they understand you. So we need to really put emphasis and focus to understand them. And when we understand them and connect with them, then they trust us. When we deliver value to them, that's when they trust us. And I find, you know, I sat in Pennsylvania connecting with payers in the UK. I was able to have a much more meaningful relationship with them than I had when I was, you know, doing face-to-face calls in Scotland. I had never worked NHS England before, but I took the time to understand them. And it was not about me or my client's brand, it was about them. And I think when you connect with them and they honestly think you're there to help them achieve their outcome, they open up, they see you, and they're open to see what you've got to say. And that's when you become their trusted advisor, not somebody's trying to sell them something.
Can I add a note of caution to that, though, Mehrnaz? You're highly skilled at what you do, and your team is highly skilled. The ability to not fall into the trap of just meeting needs without commercially aligning it to what you're trying to do, that's where the real skill comes in. Is if we just go down the route of service and need without remembering that we're selling brands, that we're promoting a product in the belief that if they're used, there'll be better patient outcomes. And it is that skill of blending the customer's needs with the advantages that your product brings to their clinical practice and in turn to the patients. And I am seeing a slightly wide class worrying trend of overvalue, of seeing value as service. You know, at the end of the day, the HCP is there to see you, certainly in primary care and general medicine, is there on the understanding that you want to promote a drug and that you believe that your drug is better than the competition for certain patient types. And if we go too far down that, we're just here as a service, we will actually not end up selling drugs. Now, obviously in rare diseases, oncology, etc., there's a very different space. And a senior team like you've got, very different space, market access. But in more general sales, there is a slight danger of falling too far down the service and needs route and forgetting that we're actually there to sell a drug.
I think you're making a really valid... Yeah, go on, Koen.
Yeah, and I agree with what James says. In the end, to be honest, a doctor knows why we are there. He knows. So I think we can also be very honest that we are there to promote our product, and you need to promote it with your heart, your passion.
Yep.
This is also how you bring a message across. And to be honest, I have been a salesperson myself the first 5 years, and it is a battle. In the end, it is a battle. It's a big competition. There are a lot of competitors. And yeah, I truly believe, and I don't think we have bad medicines on the market. But yeah, you always have your medicine. You want to position it in such a position that it reaches a broad range of customers. But you want also the HCP to be happy, because he's treating the customer. So he also want to look good to his patients. So I think it's like finding that good balance, because if it only ends in information service, I think your shareholder or your CEO won't be the happiest person in the end.
If you believe in your brand, you should be proud to sell it. That's
Absolutely.
all I say.
Absolutely.
I think, James, we don't cover coverage and frequency. I don't believe in surrogate markers and measuring it. We believe in giving the field force the freedom to understand and define segmentation and targeting, because not all the customer is going to need all our products, because not all of our products going to meet every patient's need. But if you find the sweet spot between the customers who most benefit your brand, and you put your investment and promotion on them, then you touching the sweet spot, and that's where you can deliver real value at the time they need it. But I think remote working actually gives us more opportunity, instead of driving up and down the country, to spend time to really understand which segments of the customers are going to most benefit from our product and services we offer, so we focus on them.
Mehrnaz, thank you very much. And it's lovely that we've sparked this conversation at the very end there from that wonderful comment that came in. Unfortunately, that is all we
have time for.
Paul Tunnah, Koen Janssens, thank you so much again for a huge contribution to this, and again to Mehrnaz Campbell, and of course to you, our audience, for being here with us today. The Omni Advantage is available now on Amazon. So what to do is to take out your phone and load the camera app, point it straight
at the QR code, everyone.
Order the book
on Amazon.
Get it.
Get it now.
Share the link to your video on your network on LinkedIn, and with your comments, make sure to use the hashtag the Omni Advantage. A huge thank you to being with us this afternoon. Have a lovely afternoon, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.